Hello guys, and welcome back to my video. So in this video we are going to continue with our backend series for our job board application. So in this video we are going to be getting the user data, right, from our MongoDB, right. So we already have the user model right here, which is contains a user schema that is going to store our data inside MongoDB, right. So we already created this. Now we just want to retrieve the user data. So now we can go into the controller folder. I'm just going to create a file called user controller.js. Right. So first of all, we just need a user. Which is going to come from the user model, right? And then we need our middleware for uploading our file using Mounter, right? So in this case, this middleware is going to be named, we have the resume.upload, we have the category.upload, right? So what I'm basically going to do is I'm just going to copy this right here, and then I'm just going to change it to profile.upload, because it's just one and the same thing, right? So now, okay, profile.upload.js. So don't forget the .js, right? And then I'm just going to change this from categories to resume, because we want to profile, because we want to store images inside our profile folder. So if you go inside your uploads folder, just create a folder called uploads, right? Now back to our controller, right? What I'm simply going to do here is open up and then middleware and then profile.upload, right? And then we just need to export a couple function, right? Module.exports is equal to, first we need the get user function, right? So let's call it get user by ID. It's an asynchronous function. It takes in the request, a response, right? It's a request, a response, and then basically what we need is we need to create a try catch block, right? A try catch block. Now let's create a constant variable to store our ID, right? So this ID is going to come from the request.params.id right there, right? And then the second one, we need the user which is equal to await user dot find user by ID, right? Dot find user by ID. Let's get rid of this. So we just want to get the user by ID, right? And then what we need to do is we need to destructure. So we need the password _v, and then created it, and then we also the user data. All right, so this user data is equals to user _doc, right? Like this, right? So now basically what we need to do next is now we just need to return the user data .json, and then we just pass in the user data, right? .json, and then we just pass in the user data, right? like this. All right, so this is the user date. So if somehow there is an error, we are simply going to catch that error. All right, and then let's change this to error. And then if there's an error, and then we'll just return an internal server error plus we are just going to return the internal server error, and then plus the error. Okay, so internal server error, and then the error dot message, right? And then we just need to show the user this error right there, right? So that's the method for getting the user ID. Now we need a method for updating the user, right? So to update the user, we just use this method get user, right? And then it's going to be an async function. It's going to take in a request, a response, and then basically what we need here is we need the username, first name, last name, right? And then those things are going to come from the request.body, right? They're going to come from the request.body. And then we also need an ID, which is going to come from request.params.id, right? And then now we need we need to create an upload function. So this upload function is going to take in a request, a response, and then an async function, which is going to take in an error as an argument, and then write. So right, it's going to take in an error as an argument. So the first thing that we need to do is we are just going to check if there is an error. If there's an error, then if there's an error, what we are simply going to do is we are simply going to return a status code 500 with the error message, internal server error, with the error message, error.message, right? And then else, that means we don't have an error. So if we don't have an error, basically what we are going to do is what we need is the image path, right? So I'm just going to copy the image path right here, and then I'm just going to paste it. So with the path, right, if this path is not equal to undefined, right, we are just going to return the image path, and then we are going to just replace the forward slash and backslashes with a forward slash. If it's null, we are just going to put this empty string, right? And then the next thing is we need a user. So the user is equals to user, and then we need first name, and then and then last name goes to last name, and then username goes to username. And then the image, let's go to our model, right? Application user model. It's going to be profile image. So let's go back. It's supposed to be profile image. Right, it's going to be profile image. And then what we are simply going to do after this is we need a try catch block. And then let's create a variable updated user. Let's go to await user dot find by ID and update, and then we have to provide the ID, and then we have to put in the user, right? The updated user value, right? Right there. And then after this, what we are simply going to do is we need to response.status 200 .json, and then we're just going to display a message user updated. User updated successfully. No, we don't need to return the user data, so let's just get rid of that, right? Like this. And then if there's an error, we just need to catch it, right? And then we just display internal server error plus the error, right? And then the next method that we need is the delete user, right? We need the delete user. We have the ID which is coming from the request.params, right? And then we create this consistent variable deleted user, right? And then we'll delete the user, and then we check if the user exists. If it's not exist, then user is not found. Otherwise, user deleted successfully. If there's an error, we're just going to display that error, right? And then there's another error that I want us to fix. I was always wondering why the server is not restarting. So if you go to package.json, go to start here. Initially our server was node, so change that to node mon, right? So that means that any changes that you do when you save, it will automatically restart the server, right? So now let's see, our server is running on port 68, right? So let's go inside our postman, right? Inside our postman, and then let's try to get user. So first let's try to log in, and then let's grab this user by ID, right? User by ID. And then here let's try to grab the user data, right? Okay, so we forgot something. Let's go inside our server.js, and then here we need a user route. So let's just copy this. I think we forgot to create the user route, so let's go inside our routes, and then let's create a file called user route.js, right? So the first thing is we need to import the router from Express route, right? All right, and then we also need the verify token and authorization from our middleware. So if we go inside our middleware, and then it's supposed to be verify token, right? So now delete user. Let's go inside our user controller. We have update user, get user by ID, and then delete user. Get user by ID. Okay, right. So now let's go and then router.get and then router.get and then we'll get user by ID. Put and then also delete. Here it's supposed to be patch because we want to replace some parts of the database and then we want some of the parts to remain the same, right? And then we just need to export it, right? So now let's go inside our server.js, right? And then let's copy this right here and then let's just paste it below. Let's change that to user route. And then after applications, let's just copy this and then let's just paste it below. And then let's change it to users. Alright, and then let's go back now to our Postman. Let's try to test our endpoints. So somehow API users, it's using the application route instead of users route. Let's go back. Okay, let's go back to our Postman. Try to get invalid or access token. Right, so basically what we need is our user token. So let's just grab it right there and then let's go back and try to authorization bearer token right here. And then let's try to, so I think there might be a problem saying that cannot read properties of undefined user type. So let's go back inside our user route, verify authorization token and authorization. Verify token is supposed to be verify token and authorization. Let's copy this and then let's go and let's try to do some changes. Let's see. Okay, verify token, and then let's try to grab the data. Let's see. Right, so now this is the user data right there. We have the username, email, verification, phone number, user type, right? And then I don't know why we are not getting, so let's go back to our body right there and then let's try to update to patch. Let's try to update. Use updated successfully. Let's try to get the data. Saying cannot read the internal server error, cannot read the properties of underscore doc. Why? Okay, let's go back to our user controller here. Get data, user underscore doc. So let's try, let's see. Alright, so let me just check out the error. Okay, let's try to log in again. Let's see. Maybe the user ID has changed. User not found. Okay, let's try to create username. So let's change this to register. Let's see what's causing this problem. Register user created successfully. Now let's try to log in again. Right, we have this. So somehow, and then let's try to get the data. So we have this user data right here with username. Then let's try to patch it. User updated successfully. Then let's try to get it. Internal server error. So there must be something that's appearing when we update by ID. Alright, let's see. Right, so let's see what we can do with, let's try to fix this method right here. Update user. So what we can do is, okay. The reason why is we were deleting instead of updating. So this has to do with me. I made an error there. So it's supposed to be find by ID and update, not find by ID and delete, right? So we're basically deleting our data. Right, so now let's try to create the user that we deleted right there. So let's change this to register. Right, let's change that to register, and then we need our username is Isheonesu48. Right, Isheonesu48 post. Let's post that. User created successfully, right? Okay, now we have the user, we've created the user successfully. And then let's change this to login. Alright, so let's grab the user ID. Let's use it to grab the user data. Alright, now we have the user data. Now let's do page request, send, user updated successfully, get. Now you can see we have updated our data right there.